ever tried learning a new language, you probably know that feeling, that really frustrating point where you can read it, maybe write a bit, but then actually speaking, it's like your brain just, the words vanish, and all that effort feels, well, stuck somehow behind a wall. So what makes it so hard, really, to get fluent, especially in conversation? Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, but through a really interesting, specific lens. We're looking at the challenges university students face learning English as a foreign language, specifically in Ethiopia. We're using insights from a study done at Rift Valley University. Our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to unpack the core reasons for these speaking difficulties, to get beyond just, the surface stuff and understand the roots. Hopefully spark some aha moments for you too.
Yeah, and that context is so important. I mean, English in Ethiopia's education system, it's huge. It's not just like another subject. It's seen as this vital link to the wider world, opens doors to global knowledge, helps build up the skilled workforce. But even though everyone knows it's important and the government has initiatives, the reality is lots of university students really struggle. And this research, it really highlights speaking as, often the biggest hurdle.
It's definitely a challenge lots of people recognize, but seeing it laid out like this in this specific context, it's really illuminating. So our aim is to boil down the key findings from this research for you, give you a shortcut, sort of, to understanding just how complex this issue is, all the key insights without wading through the whole study. Okay, so let's kick off this deep dive. First, just acknowledging how absolutely central speaking is. It's not just one skill among four, right? It's often seen as the main indicator of progress. And, well, the ultimate goal for many learners, actual communication. And this study at Rift Valley University, it found something pretty striking. It seems students are often really reluctant to speak English. They barely use it in class or even outside, despite what the teachers might be trying to do. It's like this invisible barrier you mentioned.
Right. And to figure out why, the researchers didn't just guess. They really dug in. They focused on 5 main areas. Teacher-related factors, then things specific to the students themselves. Classroom dynamics, the actual course materials, and importantly, internet access. They used surveys, questionnaires with, I think it was 70 students from accounting and finance, and they also did classroom observations, so quantitative and qualitative data, getting a real boots-on-the-ground view.
Okay, so 5 key areas. Where should we start peeling back these layers? The study apparently pointed maybe somewhat uncomfortably towards the instructors first. Teacher-related issues. What came up there?
Yeah, several things stood out. A big one was the teaching methods. Often very traditional, the grammar drills, memorization, stuff that doesn't really, build conversational fluency.
Right, like learning grammar rules doesn't mean you can actually use them spontaneously.
Exactly. It doesn't build that muscle memory for speaking. So even good teachers might be using methods that just aren't effective for speaking. Then there were concerns raised about the English proficiency of some teachers themselves.
Okay. That makes sense. If the teacher isn't confident, it's hard for students to be.
Precisely. It impacts student confidence and engaging. And lastly, poor classroom management came up. If the class is chaotic or just too large, it's really hard to create that safe space students need to practice and inevitably make mistakes.
That totally tracks. You need that proficient guide, the right methods, and a safe environment. But it's not just about the teachers, is it? The students' own side of the equation must be huge, too. What did the research find there? This feels like where it gets really interesting.
Oh, absolutely. On the student side, a major finding was, quite simply, a serious lack of practice. Inside class, outside class. Just not enough actual use of English.
If you don't use it, you lose it. Or, well, you never really get it in the first place.
Pretty much. There was also a lack of interest or motivation noted for quite a few students, maybe linked to the frustration.
Could be.
And then the influence of their mother tongues. Languages like Amharic, Afan Oromo, they're the default for communication. So naturally, opportunities for English practice just shrink dramatically. It's a bit of a feedback loop.
Vicious cycle, yeah.
And beyond that, and it echoes findings from lots of other studies, there were significant psychological factors. A big one was lack of confidence, just feeling unsure. Also, a real fear of making mistakes. Being judged, perhaps.
That fear can be paralyzing.
Absolutely. And general anxiety about speaking English. Plus, practical things like vocabulary gaps and poor pronunciation. All these things together just make students hesitant to even try. Less trying means less practice, means less fluency. You see the pattern.
Wow, yeah, that's a heavy load for a student to carry before they even try to speak.
So, okay, we've got teacher factors, student factors. What about the environment? The physical space, the resources, how did they impact things? Well, the classroom itself definitely played a role. Specifically, overcrowded classrooms. I mean, just picture it, a huge class.
Hmm.
How many real chances does each student get to speak? Not many.
Very few, I'd imagine. Hard to have a real conversation.
Exactly. So that significantly hampered speaking practice. And this fits with other research too, which shows, smaller, more conducive environments really help speaking skills.
Yeah.
And following on from that, resources were another big issue, or lack thereof. Things like poorly designed course materials. Maybe not enough focus on speaking activities, too much grammar.
Right. Textbooks that don't actually support conversation practice.
Yeah. Or just not enough materials overall. And a really critical one, lack of internet access or very limited access.
Oh, that's huge today. So much language exposure happens online.
Absolutely. Think about YouTube, podcasts, online communities. Limited tech access severely restricts those chances for practice and hearing authentic English. It really isolates learners.
Okay, this paints a pretty clear picture of the immediate challenges, but it makes me wonder, what about the bigger picture? Do, established theories of language learning shed any light on why these problems might be so deeply rooted?
That's a great question. And yes, the study's background review touches on a couple of contrasting theories that help frame this. First, you've got behavioral theory. Think B.F. Skinner. This view basically says we learn language through imitation, repetition, and getting rewards, like stimulus response.
The audiolingual method, maybe? Repeat after me?
Exactly that kind of thing. Lots of drills, memorization. Learning is seen as observable behavior change. So if you apply that here, you can see how a lack of practice, that repetition part, and maybe a lack of positive reinforcement or reward for speaking in class would really stall progress according to this theory. It matches the finding about lack of practice perfectly. But then you have a different angle. Cognitive learning theory. This focuses more on what's going on inside the learner's head, the mental processes.
Okay, less about observable behavior, more about thinking.
Right, learners aren't just imitating. They're actively figuring things out, constructing rules, testing hypotheses about the language. Chomsky's idea of a language acquisition device fits here. So from this perspective, think about those psychological barriers we talked about, anxiety, lack of confidence. Those internal states could seriously disrupt the mental processes needed to sort of build and test those internal language rules for speaking.
Ah, so the fear literally gets in the way of the brain doing its language learning work.
That's one way to look at it, yeah. So understanding these theories, even though the study didn't explicitly link them to solutions, gives us a kind of deeper framework for understanding why these difficulties exist. It offers different why explanations for the problems observed.
Okay, so wrapping things up a bit. What this deep dive really shows us, based on this Rift Valley University study, are these 5 key interconnected areas, right? Problems stemming from the teachers and methods, huge challenges on the student side, especially psychological ones. Then the classroom conditions, like overcrowding, not enough, or the wrong kind of course materials. And finally, that big barrier of limited technology and internet access.
That's a great summary. Those 5 factors really capture the core issues. And highlighting them is so important. This research has real value for, well, everyone involved. For learners, obviously, but also for instructors, for people designing the curriculum and materials. Because if you start addressing these specific points, improve teaching methods, work on student confidence, provide better resources, tackle the class size issue, you can genuinely improve the whole language learning experience. And hopefully help students actually become more confident speakers. It's not just one thing. It needs a multi-pronged approach.
So thinking about this for you, the listener, what does it all mean? Maybe you recognize some of these struggles from your own attempts to learn a language. Or perhaps it just gives you a clearer way to think about language education generally, seeing all those moving parts.
Yeah. And maybe one last thought to leave you with. While this study gives us a really valuable snapshot of the situation in Ethiopia, this complex dance between the teacher, the student, the environment, and the resources, that's pretty universal in language learning. The researchers themselves suggested looking deeper into things like curriculum design, syllabus issues, even family factors weren't really covered here but could play a role. It really underlines that finding truly effective solutions means looking at the whole system. It's got to be holistic. Because learning to speak a language, it's always about so much more than just the words themselves.